It was muggy. It's been here since 8, so maybe it's not muggy anymore. All right. I'm going to wait for some people to join us. Today is Friday, and finally, and we have Eileen with us today doing the Strippy Stars Ruler. And she's, of course, has lots of little tips and tricks in educating all of us on how to use the rulers that, to my understanding, a lot of you have owned for many years. I was reading her post, and a lot of you are digging them out or looking for them, which is wonderful. Which is nice. You guys can follow along and understand and look at your ruler, do it while she's doing it, or guess what? You can call our store when we're all over and you can purchase the ruler if you don't own one. So we're always here to help you on so many levels. The other thing I want to mention is tomorrow is Saturday. So we have the 9 o'clock shopping spree live and then the 11 o'clock shopping spree. So I have a lot of work ahead of me. But that is definitely still tomorrow, Saturday. We're still doing that. And then this afternoon, for all the ladies that joined us and signed up for the first hands-on, we'll call it, the new hands-on Zoom class with Diane, which is Let's Embroider on Towels. I hope everybody who has joined has their kit, because you can't follow along if you don't have the kit. And then the other thing I'll inform you all is I am in the process of lining up Zoom classes all next week. We'll have all that information coming out soon with the classes, the price, and all that fun stuff. I have a few more teachers I have to sit down with and schedule them. So, Eileen, haha. So that is in the works. So you will be hearing from us very soon on that. So you can plan next week to be with us during a class. So I know we're not in the house together, but we will still be here for you and keep you sewing, not just masks, but also other fun projects that we have in the works. All right. We have a lot of people on now, so I will stop talking and I will turn the camera over to Eileen so she can get you guys learning your Strippy Star Ruler.
Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you. Can you hear me all right? I always want to make sure that you can, because sometimes people complain that they can't hear. I today am going to talk to you about the Strippy Stars Ruler and what you can do with it. I also would like to put this out there. This is one of my little quips. Be prepared to be amazed. Okay? I think that if you start every day feeling as though you can be amazed about something, there's always then a little treasure hidden away in your day, then it's been a good day. So I'm going to try to amaze you today without sewing. I've tried to prepare my samples so that I can just show them to you and talk to you about them. Maybe that'll be a little more boring, but maybe not. I'm going to ask Alyssa to focus down here on the ruler first. I'm going to be talking about 3 rulers today that I use when I do my Strippy Stars sewing. One of them is the Strippy Stars Ruler. The second one is the 4.5 by 8.5 inch ruler that is also a Creative Grids ruler. It's very handy when making your stars. And the third one, of course, I always say of course, is one of Gudrun's, and it's also a Creative Grids ruler. This is the Stripology Mini Squared Ruler, and it's very handy when you're squaring, if you need to check them and square up your smaller blocks, because this works with smaller squares. So those are the 3 rulers that you'll hear me referencing. There are a couple other things that I'm going to use a lot. One of them is what they call a Mark and Be Gone marking tool. I like this because it's water soluble. If you use your friction pen with making the stars, it doesn't work because you would be ironing them a lot and you end up losing your marking. So this is nice, and you can just dab it off at the end. I want to put a plug in for the fact that the Williamsville store right now has the 10-pack of the blades for the 45-inch Olfa cutters. I like the ones where you can get 10 packs rather than just one, and if you're curious about price, this is $32 for 10, but at least you have 10, and you don't have to keep coming and buying one. I also want to put a plug in for our spray bottles and how I use them with Best Press. As I'm making my stars, I often will give them a little swish, and that's amazing in itself because it helps your project have it helps your project so it doesn't stretch, and that's one of the reasons I like it. And this is just wonderful because it puts out a nice mist rather than pouring it like the tops that come with the bottles, pouring it onto your project. Okay, one other thing I'm just going to put a little make a comment about. If you're an AccuQuilt person and you are making a star, which I will eventually talk about, that requires 1.5-inch squares, this particular die will make 6 layers of 1.5-inch squares if you need them. And it's a lot easier than cutting them even with the Strippology ruler. So I just putting that out there. And this is die number 55470, okay? That's the 1.5-inch square.
The question I had with somebody is the Best Press, different colors. Does it matter?
No.
What is the difference? Why are there different colors?
This one, for example, says Caribbean Beach. And they give it an aroma that changes when you go to press it on the different ones, but it does not matter.
Nope, the colors are just flavor or smells, scents. So just different scents, whatever
It
you
won't
like.
last very long. It's just when you initially spray it. There is one that I have, and I can't remember which one it is, but it makes me sneeze. So you do need to try them and see, because one might bother you and another might not.
I know there's a lavender.
There's
If you're
lavender.
allergic to a lavender, don't get a lavender.
Lavender.
There's
Yeah.
fresh linen, Caribbean
so
Beach,
fresh
and
linen
then
is really nice.
and then there's one that's unscented for anybody who cannot have a scent.
And Best Press was created because people used to use starch, and the starch has sugar in it, and that's not good because it attracts, I think it's silverfish to your quilts.
Yep.
And then you have a problem where your quilts are getting eaten while you think they're in
protected.
storage. This is the book I am also going to refer to today. In fact, most of the stars that we make come in this book
Okay.
that I'm going to talk about today. There are a lot of other ones, but and if you look here at the quilt on the cover, can you see that all right? And then move your camera over this way, you will notice that as a sample, I made 1/4 of that quilt. And these are all different shapes, not shapes, but sizes of stars that you can make with this tool and using the book as a reference. It talks you through the different patterns. And I love these little itty bitty ones because then you can make them and put them in the center of a square. Now I have one star laid out here on my table that I did ahead of time. And one of the things that you can do when you make these stars as far as being creative is that you can change the color of the center. For example, I could put yellow in there and it might change the look of the star. Maybe I would like to try a blue, and I could try that. Maybe I have a print that I would like to put in there. Maybe I have a dark purple I'd like to try. Notice how it changes your star. And then here's the best part. Maybe I'd like to make a little star and put that in the center. So let's move over now to the other side. And these different stars are all products of the book, Strippy Stars book that I just showed you. In fact, there's a pattern in there that makes this one, and with the scraps that you cut off of the square, the different squares, you can make this one. So you waste absolutely no fabric. This is another kind of star, and here I've made one here where you can see that if you turn these, you could also make it into that kind of star. So as you make your quilt, you'll get these and these in the quilt with the way the pattern works. And then this one down here, this is kind of cool. What they've done is they've taken this star and turned it this way, put a 4-patch in the middle, and then they've put the strips on the outside. I found this rather unique the way it was made, because on the corners here, you sew your strips onto a triangle of muslin. And that helps to keep your strips, give them some body and keep them from stretching because you're doing these on an angle. One tip I'll teach you or show you about the 4-patch. When I make my 4-patch, this calls for 1 3/4 inch pieces. I cut out, or I had 2 strips that are 2 inches, and I sewed those together. And after I cut them, after I sewed them together, like so, then I cut them and I got my 4-patch candidates. I sewed it together, and then, ladies, I downsized it to a 3-inch square, and that way it's accurate. In other words, make it a little bit bigger and then resize it so you get your 3-inch square. So that's just a little bit of a tip. You don't need to do your 4 patches with 1 3/4 inch strips. Make it a little bigger and then cut it down.
One of the question was, does all these stars come in only the book, or is there the pattern?
No, they're only in the book.
They're only in the book. So you have to have the book with this ruler. It doesn't have the instructions.
It has a little tiny instruction.
Oh, it does.
sheet,
Okay.
And it shows you, and I'm going to show you how to use the ruler now.
Okay.
I just wanted to show you what we can do.
Okay.
And I'm just going to move this aside, and I'm going to show you that the very first thing that we want to do is take our, and I'm going to do this on white so that you can see here. We're going to take our ruler and look at it very carefully first. Let's do it this way. You will notice that it tells you again on the ruler what you need to make the different sizes. If I want a 3-inch finished star, I'm going to use a 3.5 inch square and a 2-inch strip, like that strip I just had here. If I want a 3.5 inch star, it's a 4-inch square and a 2 1/4 inch strip. And so it tells you, you can do a 4-inch, you need a 4.5 inch square and a 2 1/2 inch strip. For 4.5 inch finished, you need a 5-inch square and a 2 3/4 inch strip. Now these strips do need to be, I usually use them the correct size. I don't make those strips bigger. Now the nice thing is I can turn this upside down and look at this. You can do a 1-inch finished star. Well, not the whole star, but a 1-inch finished piece of the star with a 1 1/2 inch square and a 1 1/4 inch strip. And it keeps going up 1 1/2, 2, and 2 1/2. Now the one I have today, you'll notice, is, I think, let's see what we've got, 3 inches. See, you can tell that I am, and if you want to see it, I'm going to take and I'm going to lay my ruler on my 3.5 inch square, okay? And I'm going to take that little pen, that Wet and Gone pen, and I'm going to make my mark like so. You see? So if I need to do this, if I am going to make something like this, you see, I have to have 4, I have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, I have to take 4 squares, and now I'm going to put the points on them, and this is how we do the points.
I get it.
I'm going to sew this piece on here like so. Now you're going to look at it and say, what in the world are you doing? You know me, I'm always talking in practical terms. So I'm going to say to you, the fish are going to swim upstream. So when I put this into my sewing machine, I'm going to take my 1/4 inch foot and line the outside edge to the outside of my 1/4 inch foot, and I'm just going to lay this down on my strip so that it will meet the needle and stitch 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to add the next one and the next one and the next one, so that I end up with 4 of these. Makes sense so far? All right. Then I'm going to take it to my ironing board, and this is why I don't want to use my friction pen. I'm going to take it to the ironing board, and there's a little trick I want to show you here. Let's see if I can get Alyssa to just lift your camera. When you have all of your squares on here like so, take it to your ironing board and slide it up on the edge.
I'm going to have you do that again. Let me get closer.
All right, if I was at the ironing board, I'm going to take my strip like so, the right side of it, and I'm going to slide it up on the edge, because what I want to do is press these like so. And I'm going to turn that 1/4 inch. I'm just going to tug on this a little bit, and I'm going to press it all the way down. Does that make sense? So that it will end up looking like this one does. You see, I did it in black and white so that you can see it. All right. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to trim it. And this is the one thing let's see, I did that one on the other side. No, this is the one I want. Here we go. I'm going to take this now and I'm going to trim it, and this is where can you see all right? This is where I'm using this square ruler. And when I trim it, and I lift it up, do you see what you've done is put a point on that square, okay? And then I just go down and I do the next one, and here's your repetition again, ladies. I'm going to trim, and I've got 2 of these now that have 1 point on them. You will notice that there's a little space on the bottom, and that is what you want, because when we put this on here to put it in, to mark it, you'll notice that it slides up here, and it purposely gives you that little bit of space on the bottom. Okay, so that your point does not go all the way. In fact, if you look at this one, your point does not go all the way to the bottom. So don't worry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to take my squares, and this time I just have to think, I have to think in terms of what the sewing machine is looking at. This time, the fish are gonna swim downstream. So I'm gonna start stitching here. This is right sides together. I've laid my neck the other side of my triangle. It's going downstream, and I'm gonna sew it on. 1/4 of an inch, very easy. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to press it. And again, I'm going to fold it so that when it presses like so. Thought I turned my phone off. So when I get that pressed, then I'm going to take my ruler, and this is that 4.5 by 8.5 inch ruler that I talk about so often. And I'm going to trim it. And oh, you see, one of the things you've got to be careful of is not cutting into the next one. So my suggestion would be to start cutting them on the left side here rather than as I did on the right side. But then I've got my 2 points. In other words, what I'm saying is, if you started to trim it, here's another one that I've done. Here's a blue one. When you trim it, instead of starting on the right one, start here on the left. To me, it's the left. It would be on your right. Start on the end of your strip that you stitched.
To work away from your other projects.
Right, so if I do this here, I have no chance of cutting one of the other ones. That's what I'm saying, you see. Now this is a blue one that has white pieces, and then just move along your line. When you get all of those cut off, you end up with these wonderful points, and you can build your stars. Now, is that hard? No, that's not hard at all. And it's all done with this wonderful little amazing Strippy Stars Ruler. And the nice thing about the book is that it walks you through in very good directions. Of course, I write in my book, so, but it will walk you through very well, very easily, very clearly in how to build the different stars. And it gives you good graphic pictures. Here are some more. And it does the same thing with your little stars. It will walk you right through those. There are all kinds of different patterns in here. This is a pattern that is done with this here. This one I did backwards. So it still comes out. And then you see they've taken these other little ones and put them in the corners. Now, I've got to ask if anybody has any questions. You see how easy this is. It is not difficult.
So the name of the book is Strippy Stars.
Yep.
And the name of the ruler is called Strippy Stars. So you can call and say, I want the book, I want the ruler, or I want both. Do trim the under fabric to a 1/4 inch seam.
Oh.
Do you trim the ruler under the fabric?
I generally leave mine on.
Okay.
They can look here. I find that, you see it's trimmed there because of the way you put the star points on. But I leave the second piece on because I find it gives my stars just a little bit more body.
Okay.
They don't seem to, you know, twist out of line. I did that when I made these. These all have it underneath, and it came out nicely. So again, you can see the different stars that you can make.
And this pattern is in the book.
This pattern
is on the cover.
What I did here was I turned this upside down and here's what I made. This section here of the quilt. Now, you can go ahead and make all the rest of it, but I just wanted a sample that shows you the different size stars. And so that was what I put together. You look puzzled, Alyssa.
No, one of the customers say, when do you use the ruler?
You use the ruler.
You mean the Strippy Star Ruler or the straight ruler? She kind of used both and everything. You use this.
You use this.
To mark your square.
This is when, well, first of all, the ruler tells you what you need. So here, I want a 3-inch finished a square so that I can build that's the star. And so I've cut a 3.5-inch square, and then I take my ruler, this is the Strippy Stars Ruler, I put it on that 3.5-inch square, and I mark it. I draw a line, okay? So then it also says I need a 2-inch strip. So then I take that 2-inch strip, which for me on this one happens to be white. And I take my square and I sew it with using a 1/4 inch to that white strip. Now this one here, you can see I'm sewing the second one. If I show you the first one, this is the first one.
So she said the first one you go
first
upstream.
This is my 2.5-inch strip. I took my square. This one I'm using a white square. I'm putting on white points. No, I'm putting on blue points. So I took my 2.5-inch strip. I sewed my square.
Mm-hmm.
The fish are floating upstream. I sewed it on. Then I take it to my ironing board, just as a review, and I'm going to press it so that it turns under. And when I trim it, I'm going to end up with, you see, a blue point on my square. Here's one. Here's one. Pretend this was a black strip. When I trim it using the square ruler, like so, I will end up with a point. It makes 1 point on the star.
You really don't use the question is, so you don't use a Strippy Star Ruler to cut with?
You don't need
no,
to.
This is to put
This is to
define your points.
Right.
Your formula for what you need, and then your points. That's
right.
That's what the Strippy Star Ruler is really for.
And the nice thing is it gets you into creating a star that is so accurate that when you sew your stars together, you do not lose your points. You see, none of the points are lost on any of these because I have the ruler. Now, I've made a lot of stars in my day because I like stars, and every single one of these shows you that you can make stars and not lose the points.
Seam allowance is a 1/4 inch.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, when I do these other patterns, it's using this Strippy Stars Ruler, but I'm marking it differently.
Oh.
You see, each pattern shows you different things you can do with a ruler. And this one, what it said to me in the book, was to mark. And I can't remember what size I've got here, but to mark it, and I did it upside down on the wrong side, on the right side. So I did it like so, and I marked it here, all right? And then I just slid my ruler up so that I could go all the way up. And then I turned this, and again, I marked it on the right side, and I did it all the way up. So then when I sewed my points on, I sewed it on to the different sides. So then I can take it and I can create different patterns. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or I can turn this, let's see how I do. I can turn it this way. I could get this in the middle. Or I could put the red one in the middle. Okay? And that's like this here. This one here, like I said, it's just creating this outside star. You're going to use your ruler to measure your points on the, to define the line where you're going to stitch on the little arms points to the star. And you're going to make 1, 2, 3, 4 of those squares. These are plain colors. I put this 4 patch in the middle, and then I put the different colors on the outside. And because you do it with some muslin, it gives it some body. And because she's using in the book things like muslin to give it body, that's why I leave the backs on those star points, because I feel like it gives it some body. You see, here we are, and you can see that I've left them on. This is the way the back looks. So here are all the places where I went and drew my stars. Okay, you can see them. Here, here. And then I sewed my points. I put the green points on. And because you put these on the sides, it changes this star to this star. It's a different look. That is a pattern in the book, okay? It could be a class someday, who knows? This star here, what you're doing is you're making these squares, and you sew on one point, and then on top of that square you lay another square, and you draw a diagonal line, and you stitch on that diagonal line. When you trim this piece off, you get these size pieces, and then you can take them and put them into another square. This is getting complicated. All I'm doing is showing you the patterns that are in the book so that you can graduate yourself from making a basic star to using the ruler in a multitude of other ways and making different patterns. Is this making sense?
Mm-hmm. They're saying yes, please, for a class.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. A class would be fun. A class sounds great. They're very excited about a class.
Oh, okay. We can do a class.
We could do a class.
We can make it a Zoom class.
Yeah, right now it's Zoom classes, so we could definitely throw that in there now that we're trying to teach classes.
The difference between doing something live and doing something as a Zoom class is that we will go through it in the Zoom class one step at a time, so everybody's doing it together.
Yes.
When we're doing it live, all we can do is give you a quick snip of what you can do with that ruler or that book or that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of these could become classes if you're interested in doing that. I would be quite happy.
Yes. Someone asked, the name of the marking pen is Mark Be Gone.
Real handy.
Yep.
And it sells for $6.99. That's not a bad price.
Nope.
Oh.
And then they're asking the price of the book and the ruler, and my brain is...
Oh, we don't have one of the rulers over here.
No, I have Eileen's stuff, not my stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure. And the book, mine does not have a price on it. It's what I got when I got that bag of rulers when we went to club. There were so many wonderful rulers in those bags that we sold them, and some of the patterns. So, any other questions? You can see this doesn't take very long to explain. It's basically pretty easy.
Did you get the book with in the package of rulers? She thinks so.
I think so, but maybe it was extra. I don't remember. There were some books that we got in that pack of rulers.
Yeah, so I don't have the answer to that. I wasn't here that day.
No, that was way back. That was way back. Probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, so I don't know if you got what you got in that ruler kit that you guys all bought. Someone answered the ruler is $23.99. I don't quite know about the book. And I can't walk away with a camera on my hand and over to the counter. So
I could look at the price of the other one that we have.
yeah. Someone answered that book was extra. So
Was extra.
yep. Okay. So the Strippy Stars book is extra. The girls will, we will take orders. We had, I think, one in stock, which is already sold. So we, just call and we'll take orders. We don't ever have a problem with that. And we've been getting stuff in relatively quick during this time, as quick as shipping is happening. So, which has been great. And then this ruler again was what size? Your straight ruler here?
This one, this is phenomenal. I use it a lot. It's 4.5 by 8.5. It's just manageable to use in your hand. And when you are trimming these up, it just fits so nicely in the space that you need to trim. So I can put it right on here just like so and kind of lean on it and then trim it. And I don't have to maneuver a great big huge ruler. When do I use the Stripology ruler? I use it a lot of times with making sure that, especially when I do these little things, that they're the size that I want them to be. For example, this one I think is 3.5, and you can't see the 3.5 inch marking. There's a white 3.5 inch marking, and I just lay that right on there, and then I can square it up. There's my 3.5 inches, and it's great for doing little squares. Yeah. Or I can do it with dark markings and put it over here and do 3.5 inch that way. But that's still white. And you just cut this way, and then you turn this and you lay it on and you cut the other way. Yeah. And then you sew your star together. And when I sew them together, I generally sew together. I work top to bottom. I used to work side to side. Sometimes if I'm doing it sidewards, I'll do this way, and then I'll do this way, and I end up with my side to side. Recently, I have started sewing more top to bottom, so I do this one, I do this one, I do this one, and then I come back and add the bottom one onto it. And then I sew, when I sew, I'm sewing on a vertical line rather than working on horizontal. So I guess it's a preference for what you want to do. You will notice when you sew it together, you have a very nice 1/4 inch mark here from the ruler. You also have it on the ends. Now when I sew it, for example, when I put this on here, I sew it with this side up so that I can make sure that when I do my 1/4 inch, I am not sewing into the space. In other words, I'm not sewing into I'm sewing to preserve the point. That's what I want to say. I'm not sewing down into this space here anywhere. Here's the other one. Now, this one, when you put it on here, you don't have to worry because your lines are going the other way. But when I sew it together the long way, then I'm going to sew it. After these are sewed together, I'm going to put them on here like so, and make sure that when I sew that strip together, that I am preserving that point. And that's how your points come out so nice. See, if you look at these stars, you'll see that even these points here in the middles of the star, they're all just fine because you can see where you're stitching on the other side of the star. Just stitch on it upside down on the reverse side. So be prepared to be amazed. This is so easy.
If you have the right tools.
If you have the right tools. This really solved a problem for me because I like to make stars. And I was always frustrated that my stars didn't come out quite right. Even on a pattern where it defines how to do it, sometimes my stars wouldn't come out right. So now when I'm making patterns, sometimes I look and see if I can use this tool to make the star that goes in that pattern. And then I know my points are going to be great. So try it, ladies. It's a lot of fun. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Eileen. Another great educational little tools and tips and tricks class that she gave us on a Friday morning. All right. I hope you guys, the sun's out. Hope you guys all enjoy this nice, now at this moment, weather. And I don't know how long it will last. And then you will see me tomorrow morning at the 9 a.m. Shopping spree, and then again at 11. I'm going to sign off quickly so I can get things ready for tomorrow. And then you will see me live tomorrow morning. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy this day. Have a wonderful weekend too. And we'll see you guys tomorrow if you join me. Bye.